The other way is to find somebody that's a step or two in front of you again and fill their gaps. Like figure out what they need, figure out where they're weak. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, welcome back to the show. Today I'm going to actually talk about a question that I've got that came in. But man, it is December, like mid-December. It's crazy. The end of the year is coming. And so now is a great time to, well, first of all, I like to keep my head down till really till the end of the year. And so I don't love to spend a ton of time kind of dreaming and thinking about goals for 2025. I would much prefer to work really hard through pretty much Christmas and then take a little bit of time there and reflect back, think about, okay, what happened in 2024? What did we do well? What did we not? And then really think about goals in 2025. I'll probably talk about that a little bit more, maybe one of the next episodes or so. But I like to finish strong. And this is to me a great opportunity to take time to finish strong while a lot of people are starting to maybe take it a little bit easy. And even that week between Christmas and New Year's, I think that's a great week to spend a lot of time reflecting, a lot of time thinking about your goals, thinking about your business, thinking about strategies, thinking about processes that you need to implement, systems that you need to put in place, how your team is built, who is the right fit, just things like that to really think about how your business can improve. It's a good week to do that because, well, quite frankly, a lot of people just aren't working. And so to try to set up meetings, to try to do business that week is kind of difficult. And so it's a great week to not necessarily take your foot off the gas, but to actually just think about the future and where you're going, what you're doing right now, and what needs to improve and change and all that kind of stuff. So I've got a question here, and I think this is interesting because this is actually a good question for that I hear from a lot of people. And so it says, I'm wondering my first steps past the education part. I've already done the education part, right? I've already uh, listened to the podcast, read the books, all that kind of stuff. So what are my first steps after the education part? Is it to build a network of people who know, like, and trust me through posting content like newsletters and articles and podcasts, doing webinars, going to events? Or should I first find a deal and then raise capital? And it follows up by saying the reason why I ask is because I'm sure people are going to say it's critical to first build a network, but I find myself doubting myself because why would someone listen to advice from a 21-year-old who's never bought a deal before? Also, I'm connected with a lot of sophisticated investors on LinkedIn. I don't want to lose their respect because I'm starting to post educational content when I've never done any transactions. What do you think? Am I overthinking this? So, first of all, I think a lot of people's first thing would be, dude, you're 21. Like, stop. Come on. You're too young. I say kudos at 21. That's awesome. But I don't think it really matters what your age is in this industry. Well, it does a little bit, but age is more of a perception, right? It's more of people will put limiting beliefs on you because of your age. So if somebody comes to me and they're 45 and they've never done a deal before, are they more qualified than a 21-year-old to do their first deal? I would say probably not. The only thing they are maybe more qualified is they have a professional track record. They have probably a bigger network, and potentially, not necessarily, because in many cases it's not true. They have a higher net worth and liquidity. But many 45-year-olds, as you all know, many 45-year-olds actually have negative liquidity and negative net worth. And so it's not necessarily true. But the network is true. The just the perception, I think, from really everybody. If I'm a potential investor and I'm looking at a 21-year-old just got out of high school a couple of years ago, like 45-year-old though, 40-year-olds, like yeah, they've got through some life experiences. But in reality, it's just not that big of a difference. And so it doesn't matter. If you're 21, you're 45, you're somewhere in between or even older, this advice is the same basic advice, right? And so for me, what I would tell somebody is, first of all, don't go find the deal first. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let me backtrack. You could go find the deal first, but it's not for you to buy, right? It's for you to wholesale to somebody else. So go ahead and find the deal first, and then email me and say or message me and tell me, hey, I've got this deal. I know you like buying 100-unit buildings, 100 units and greater. I know you like buying in the Twin Cities or Louisville or Lexington, Kentucky, right? So I know you like these markets, Columbus, Ohio, or so and so, so and forth. Um, so I know you like those markets. This is a B class. I know you like A and B class asset, value add, blah, blah, blah. It fits your criteria. And I've got this great deal that I've sourced. And I'd love to sell it to you and or wholesale it to you. And so that's a great way to do things. And so you can wholesale and just get a fee for that deal. So maybe you got it under contract for $10 million and I am willing to pay 10.5, right? And so you can take that $500,000 fee, which is amazing, right? Or you can say, well, yeah, look, I'll sell it to you for 10.5, but actually what I really want is I'll sell it to you for 10.5, but for that 10.5, I want equity in your deal. And so I would say, yeah, that sounds good. So I'm going to actually be buying it for now maybe 10 million. You're going to take that 500K that you would have gotten from me, or maybe you take a small fee, maybe you take 50K or something like that. But you're going to take that extra money and you're going to put it in my deal as an LP, right? So sorry, I'm still buying it for 10.5, but you're going to take that and put it as an LP. Maybe I'm going to give you some GP shares. And so now you're a part of this deal. Now you're gaining experience. And now as a 21-year-old or a 45-year-old, you've just done your first deal. Now, are you the managing member, the guy that's in charge? No, you're not. But you have definitely a stake in that deal. You've got some equity. And by the way, if you meet enough people and know enough sponsors, you can gain a little bit more equity by kind of using that as a negotiating tool. Well, look, you're only willing to give me 2% of the GP. I really need 10% of the GP. And you can feel confident that if I say no, I'm only giving you 2%, you can go on to the next guy and you can just say, look, that's fine. I understand you can't give me more. I've got another sponsor that I know this would be a great fit for. I'm going to send it over to them. Oh, wait a second. I still like this deal. Let's figure this out, right? So getting to know sponsors is super valuable. If you're a 21-year-old, 45-year-old, you've never done a deal and you want to skip right to doing large multifamily deals, get to know sponsors. Get to know sponsors that are very experienced. Get to know sponsors that are just a few steps ahead of you. I think that's super valuable as well, because those are very much potential partners for you. And you can potentially even get a lot more equity with those people that are just a step or two in front of you. Maybe they've done a deal or done a lot of smaller deals. I think about when I first started. Look, when I first started, and I hadn't done a large deal, but I had bought and flipped a lot of houses. I bought and turned over a lot of apartments that were 10, 20 units. And if somebody came to me and found me a deal and said, I want to partner with you, but I want, 50% of the equity, 40% of the equity, 30%, whatever, that would have been very tempting for me because I hadn't done a big deal. Look, I can bring some money into the deal. I can do this, but I got this great deal, and I want to be a partner with you. Oh, well, let's talk more, right? So now, if somebody comes at to me and says I want 50%, I would just say, sorry, that's we can't do that, right? It just doesn't work because we've got too much experience, and quite frankly, it just doesn't fit in our overall vision for our company. Um, so that's one way to do things, right? So find deals, wholesale them, get partners. Okay. The other way to go about things. Okay. By the way, there's a ton of answers. Like this could be a 6-part podcast episode when I'm talking, like, what are my first steps? Building a network, doing that, going to find a deal. Okay. Well, again, the first thing is you're 21, you're 45, you've never done a deal before. Like you go to a commercial real estate broker and tell them you're looking for your first deal or tell them you're looking for a deal. They Why are they going to trust you? You've got no experience. You have no experience. When I first went to a broker and I said I'm looking for, 100 plus unit apartment building, I've been in real estate since 2008. I've done a ton of transactions. Like they saw my track record. They saw that I knew how to get deals done. Now, did they have to take a little bit of leap of faith in me? Yeah, they did, right? Because I hadn't done a 100 unit building, but I'd bought I think at that time the largest building was a 22 unit building. Okay. So I've done some buildings, but I'd also done well over 150 transactions in real estate. So I got a lot more experience. If you have no experience, they're just not going to take you serious, especially if you're 21, but that doesn't matter. The only way somebody's going to take you serious is if you can show them this big pile of cash, right? If you can show them, look, I'm buying this $10 million building. I want to buy a $10 million building or $20 million building. And I sold my business, or I got this big inheritance and I got $5 million sitting in the bank, and here's my bank statement. Okay, yeah, I'll take you serious. Like you're gonna buy something. And by the way, I'm probably gonna assume you're not very sophisticated, so I might be selling you as the broker. They might be trying to sell you something that maybe doesn't. Maybe nobody else wants. so be careful for that if that's the case for you. Uh, but otherwise, like, look, you're just not going to getting taken serious. So you got to figure out a way. And even going direct to owner is going to be challenging. And that's where that wholesale is still going to be very challenging if you've never done a deal. It's just going to be really challenging. Now you can say, well, look, I work with a sponsor and so, and we're going to be, Endurus Capital is going to be buying this deal from you, and I'm just negotiating on their behalf. That might work if you do it right, if you position it properly. The other way is to find somebody that's a step or two in front of you, again, and fill their gaps. Like figure out what they need. Figure out where they're weak. Are they weak in the transaction and the underwriting and in that process? Are they weak in the capital raising? Are they weak in the asset management and the operational management? Like where are they in need? And figure out the gap, right? You're young, you're energetic, hustle. Like figure out how you can add a bunch of value to them. Now, don't necessarily expect you're going to get 50% for that, but maybe you can get a good size equity. Now, you can come to me with Endurance Capital and say, hey, I'm new, I'm beginning, I want to get into this deal. What can I do for you? I see that you need help with your social media, um, which by the way, we do. You know, can I do that and potentially get some equity in the company? Well, no, I'm not going to give you equity in the company. Could we work out a deal? Potentially, right? Potentially. So, but it's going to be a lot more challenging with an established company to get true, real partnership equity, that type of thing. All right. So, I want to talk about this social media and the newsletters and the podcasts, webinars, so on. All right. Here's my advice for that. You have to start building a presence. You have to start getting people to know, like, and trust you. You have to start getting people to see your name. Whether you're 21, 31, 41, 51, people don't know you as a real estate investor. People don't know you as an apartment buyer or a retail shopping center buyer or whatever it is that you're going to be going after. So you have to start building that kind of just presence for people to be able to see that's what this person does. Right. And so I think that's super valuable to get going right away. Now, what I think is foolish is if, especially if you're young, 21 years old, um, is to go out there and pretend like you know everything. Because come on, like really, you're going to actually sit there and tell me you know everything about investing, but you've never bought a deal. Like, that's ridiculous. And so you're just going to get laughed out of the room. People aren't going to trust you. They're going to know right away, like, all right, this guy, this gal is just, they just don't know what they're doing, and they're a pretender, right? So that's obvious, right? So just don't do that. So what do you do instead? Well, why don't you go have lunch with a sponsor, right? And ask them really good, compelling questions. And then go on to LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you do your social media, and talk about that meeting. And be careful about privacy, right? Don't say I met with so and so unless they say it's okay to do that. But you can say, look, I met with a seasoned investor, and we sat down for lunch. I had a great conversation with him or her. And here are my five takeaways, top five takeaways. And this is what I learned, XYZ, right? I went to a conference today. I learned about this, and this, right? And you can, a lot of time, you could probably, if I have a half an hour meeting with an investor, I could probably write 3 to 5 different social media posts on that, maybe even more. If I went to a conference, you know, it's a full day conference or even a overnight or 2 day conference, like I could probably write 10, 15 social media posts just on that conference if I do it right. So it's not saying, look, I'm an expert. It's saying, this is my journey. This is what I'm learning. Wow, this is what I learned. Hey, did you know that XYZ is going on? Also, take posts, take industry articles. You know, so somebody else posted something on social media, and you can take and just share that, and always put your own thoughts to it, right? Put your own thoughts to it. Wow, this is such great insight from so and so. Here are 3 things that you really need to know, right? Or what do you think? You know, even ask a question. What's your take? Oh, here's an article I read, and it says that multifamily building permits are going down drastically. What's your take on the current status of the multifamily market? Or this is what I believe that means. What is your take on that? I'd love to hear from the seasoned investors, right? Those are things that you can actually do on social media that start to build your credibility, because people see the journey, but they don't see you as a know-it-all. They see you as somebody who is really absorbing, but providing value to everybody else by absorbing what you're learning, right? And so you're learning, but you're teaching through your learning. The other thing, anybody can start a podcast. Now, I don't suggest just starting a podcast. I think you have to really think about, is it the right fit for you? Podcasts aren't as easy to grow today as they were, 5 years ago. And so I think you really have to be, and they're a lot of work. They take a lot of work and a lot of effort. So I think you have to really be thoughtful about it. But if a podcast long form is right for you, again, the journey. If YouTube channel is right for you, again, like, talk about the journey. With the podcast, you can interview people. With the YouTube, you can interview people. Interviewing people. Now, does it provide you with a pile of credibility? No, but it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more credibility. It's getting your name out there a little bit more to know that you're in the industry. That's the key, is people need to know that you're in the industry. So start doing those things right away. That's going to build your network. I would put a newsletter out there. I think that's super valuable. Start putting a newsletter out there. Make sure you got your website going, all that kind of stuff. But everything you do, in my opinion, make sure that you're talking about the journey that you're on and what you're learning and what you're doing, versus trying to pose as somebody who you aren't. Be genuine. And that will be well received. Back to getting there and getting your first deal. I talked about several ways you can continue and be in, the larger space, but there's always going the smaller space too. Doing your house hacks, buying some single families, buying some duplexes, buying some 4 units, buying some 10 units, buying some 20 units. And that will give you the experience. Now, if you're 21, you've got plenty of time. Now, I don't want to tell you that's the only way to go, because it certainly isn't, but that is definitely a way to go, is to buy some buildings. The other way to go is to become an employee of a company. Look, I interviewed a guy on the podcast not that long ago, and that's Evan Holiday, and that's what he talked about. Like, he became an employee of a company because he wanted to do what they do. And so he became an employee of that company, learned from them. And when the time was right, after he learned what he needed to learn, so he got on the corridor, he learned what he needed to learn, he built relationships that he needed to build. And now he's doing it himself, right? He started his own company, and now he's doing what he's been wanting to do because he learned from them. And they're, by the way, a good resource for him still to this day, because he kept a good relationship with them. So that is another way to get in the corridor. It's just work for somebody, be patient, understand, hey, yeah, it's not quite where I want to be, but it's where I want to be, right? It's where I need to go to get there. So there's a lot of ways to get in this game. The most important step is that you actually take action. Okay, you actually take action, you do things. The other way is to passively invest. I've got plenty of people that have passively invested with me on 2, 3, 4 deals, and now they're doing it themselves. So there's just so many different ways to go about it to get in the game, but take action and be consistent, be persistent, to continue to push on and know your goal, know where you want to go. And if you know where you want to go, you believe in yourself, and you continue to take the persistent, consistent action necessary to get there, you will get the results that you're looking for. All right. That's all I got for today. You have a fantastic rest of the day. Make it every day a Saturday.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. Say, I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. But your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out. And we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.